Hi there, starting a new project. We have 3 bedrooms in this house. Main bedroom is the one that we did when we first moved in. I really like it. I actually just bought a new rug for it, which I can show you some B-roll of. So that one, it's good for a while. It's not perfect, but I'm very happy with where it's at. The second bedroom that's in the basement, I just recently did, and I did another video of it where we painted it kind of a darker green color, and I really loved how that turned out. And I just wanted to give a quick update on this room. We added this this fur hide. My husband hunts, so he figured out how to do that, and we just kind of put it at the end of the bed. It's still pretty stiff, so we're still working it in, but yeah, that's the plan, just to kind of fits kind of the theme of the room. And then we also added these vintage starburst wall decor that came from my husband's grandfather. I think they look really cool in the room. They kind of have little elements of copper in them. So yeah. Now we have one more bedroom to do, which we also use as an office, but we want the ability to have it for our guests if they come over, so we still want the ability to have some sort of bed in there. And we also, as you can see, it's pretty light upstairs in the main part of the house, so I'm going to have to keep to that and not go too dark with it like I did on the last project. So the idea is to go very traditional, maybe be a little bit into the trendy wallpaper that's going on right now. Truth be told, I've had my eye on a specific piece of wallpaper for probably a good 3 years now. I've never installed wallpaper. It's very intimidating, I'll be honest. Very, very, very intimidating to think about doing reno projects that aren't necessarily cheap. The materials aren't necessarily cheap. And then as well as having trim put around, which I've also never done. So I've been procrastinating this one, mainly because of my lack of experience with what I want to do with it. But ultimately, you know, full moon's out, you know what that means. It means it's time to give it a go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the room. Truth be told, about 3 years ago, I already measured the room out for what I wanted to do, but what I was looking at doing then was slightly different than what I want to do now, so I have to redraw the entire thing. And I also know a lot more about, you know, spatial balance, and, you know, I've done a lot more research than these 3 years. So I think my measurements are kind of off. So we're gonna redo them. But and I have some I have an AI rendering of kind of what I'm looking at that I can probably put up on the screen. It's not exactly how it's going to look, but it kind of gives you the idea of what I'm going for. The plan was really to only buy one piece of furniture, which is going to be the Dave bed that we put in there, and we got that from IKEA. Alright, so let's get into this project makeover. So this desk I got free at work. They were going to throw it out with the cleaning that they did, but I definitely saw the potential. It's definitely a vintage desk, so I think I can bring it back to life. As you can see, it's very worn on the top there. There's lots of scratches, bumps. It looks like someone took a knife, carved their names in them, carved the sides of it, carved the days of incarceration. I don't even know what else, but the problem with this piece is the wood. There appears to be wood on the legs, but the top of it is definitely plywood. So I'm going to have to be very, very careful with what I do with this. But first and foremost, I'm going to see if I can cover up the holes that I've put in it. Like, someone literally just took something sharp, like a pencil or pen, and just drilled a hole into the top of it. So we're going to just go in with wood filler, and we're going to fill all those in. The piece is never going to be perfect. I'm not really going for perfection here, but we're just going to clean it up as best we can, just from the major nicks and holes. putting a bunch on the side here. It's gonna be a little bit tricky to fill this in, but I'm gonna give it a shot. Yeah, it took a while even just prepping this piece because I kept finding things like thumbtacks stuck in it and stickers and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it took a while in the prepping stage for this, probably a good 1 to 2 nights. So now I'm going in with my sander. I started with just the normal sander, and then I kind of rotate between that and my orbital sander, just to kind of see what works a little bit better. I was very gentle at first when I was doing this because, again, I was worried about how the plywood would hold up. So I kept it, I didn't apply a lot of pressure, which, yes, it does take longer, but I think when you're working with something like plywood and not real wood, you do have to be a little bit more careful. Another thing to mention here is I didn't go super low with the grit. I think I kept it over 100 grit for this project. So now I'm just gonna go and do a once over in a few different grits. So I'm gonna do a once over with the 120, and then I'm just gonna work my way up. And I'm gonna do another once over with the 180, once over with the 220, and then I'm gonna finish it with a 320 just so I can get the wood as smooth as possible. So it's not perfect. You can see a little bit of discoloration here. I'm hoping that the wood bleach will kind of even the tone on here, and then when I go over it with the paint wash, it will it'll level it out even more. But you can see the parts where I put the wood glue are way lighter than the natural wood. We're gonna work on just kind of making them a little bit more cohesive so it's not as noticeable. Great thing about using furniture like this that I literally got for free, especially when it was just gonna go to the garbage anyways, is that I kind of feel like I can experiment a little bit with it without it being a big deal. Because really, if I truly, really mess up the piece, I can always just paint it and that will do. It's not ideal, but it definitely saved it from going to the trash, and even if we can get, 3 or 4 years out of it, I certainly think that it's worth it. So don't be afraid to do that on your own projects. Don't be afraid to experiment a little bit. I've definitely ruined my fair share of tables, but you just kind of have to go another direction with it and just keep doing the research, and then eventually you'll get it right. You don't have to give up on a piece right away. If it's not looking the way that you initially thought, you can still have a really nice looking piece. You just gotta keep trying. Okay, so I've bleached this piece twice now. It's still not to the level that I want it, but I don't think I'm going to get there because I can't keep doing this, because every time I wet the top here, I can see that I'm already causing some water damage. So I'm gonna have to go back, hopefully with an iron, and fix the damage I've already caused, but I definitely cannot keep the bleaching process. So what I'm gonna do instead is I'm going to paint wash it, similar to what I did on a previous video with a kitchen table. So I'm hoping that that will take out the remainder of the orange tone that I'm looking at here, but still keep the piece warm enough, looking like wood, which is kind of what I want. Right now, I'm just trying to figure out what paint or combination of paint and stain that I want to use for this. So because I know that this is going to be going in our office when we do the makeover for that, I want to see kind of what works best with the wallpaper and the trim that we have. Okay, so this is the table as is right now with just the bleaching and the sanding. That's pretty much as light as I think I'm going to get it naturally without damaging the wood any further. But we're just going to basically see with the paint wash and stains what works with the wallpaper that I ultimately have chosen for the office. So as you can see, it's not a stark white. Within the painting itself, there are a little bit of spots, hints of the brighter white, which I think work really well with the white trim. But I definitely want to pull some of those brown, maybe even with a tiny hint of green, kind of out of the piece. So first up, we got my favorite whitewash paint, which is Algonquin by Fusion. So this one, taking a look at it, I think that this one would definitely look really nice with the piece. I think it would work really nicely, and I think it would definitely tone down the orange that we got going on here. Especially when I bring it up here, you can see that it works really well with the kind of the grayish in the clouds there. The next one, we could always go with a white paint and do more of a whitewash look. That wouldn't be a bad idea either. It definitely would go nicely with the trim, and then it would also go nicely with the kind of the lighter white colors. I'm thinking that I want to stick a little bit more on the darker side and not go super, super light with it. The next step we have, this actually came with the house. It's very similar to the Algonquin. I'm tempted to use it just so that we can essentially, not be wasteful, because I know for a fact I'm going to use this one again. So I'm actually very tempted to give this one a try and see how that looks. You can see a little bit of the dried color here. It's definitely a lot darker. Well, a little bit darker. Okay, so we'll put these over here because I think those are the two top contenders. I have this stain here. I tried to test it on the previous kitchen table project I did. It didn't really do what I needed it to do. I think it would work really well potentially on like a very, very raw light wood piece, but I just don't think it's gonna work for this one. And then lastly, we have the dark walnut color here. It's definitely a lot warmer than what I see in the wallpaper, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. It might be nice to bring a little bit of warmth, but I definitely am going for a more light and airy look in the upstairs, in particular this office. So I think we're going to steer clear of this. I think I'm going to stick with the paint wash and see where we can go from there. And then the last one I have here is just an aged glaze to get an antique look. I may do a little test of this after the paint wash is on, just to see, just out of curiosity, how it looks. I find whenever I'm going to test something, I never test it on a highly visible part of the piece. I try to do it, on the backside or somewhere that's a little bit less noticeable. One of the things that took me a while to fully understand when I'm looking to design and do a makeover on a room and kind of incorporate pieces that I can actually refinish myself is understanding undertone. So when you go to design a room, ideally you want the colors to kind of go together well, but you're not necessarily just looking, if you want to do really good design, you're not necessarily just looking at the base color of what you see to match everything else. You want to take looks at the undertones as well, which can be a little bit tricky if you're not used to knowing what to look for. But I find with the paint that I use, I've kind of come up with a couple ways, a couple of tricks to kind of figure out what the undertone is going to be, so that when I do something like a paint wash, I actually know. So I know for a fact that when I use this Algonquin on here, I know that it's going to pull a lot of gray, and it's going to cool the piece down significantly for me. But it's not going to take all of the warmth out of it, which I don't want all the warmth taken on. We don't want millennial gray nowadays, but it will pull enough that it's not so orange. Another color that can do that pretty well is green. It can cancel out any red or orange tones as well. But the way I can kind of tell how the furniture piece is going to look and the undertones that are going to come forward with it is by using it. So I know from the last time that I used this, that it actually pulls a lot of gray specifically into the grooves of the wood. So I know that that's likely going to happen on this piece as well. But the second way you can tell without even using it is typically when you let these sit for long periods of time, you can see that the colors that were mixed in start to separate a little bit. It's easy to fix. All you have to do is give it a good shake and you're not going to have any issues, but it kind of gives away what the main kind of undertones and the colors that they actually use to mix to get to this color. So this, I know that I've had it for a little bit and I've had it sitting for a while. I can actually see some gray in there within the paint. And I know that when I put the water mix in it and I leave it for long periods of time, I can see the gray actually settle on the bottom there. Sorry, on the top. This is another example that I have here. I don't know if it will focus, but you can actually see that, you know, it's a coral color that kind of, when the paint goes on, it's a lot more pink, but you can see how much orange that they also mixed in there. So this will definitely brighten and warm up anything if you were to use this color. Here's another one. So I got this pink. So this is it's not showing up well on camera, but it's a very light pink. Very, very light. And you can see here, there's I don't know if you can actually see it. There's a faint lines of white here. So I can tell that they mixed a lot of white into this one. So this one I could get away if I was trying to go for a more cool tone, whereas this orange one, it's definitely going to warm up my piece and make it a lot brighter with the orange undertones. So hopefully that explanation kind of makes sense. That's how I understand it. I'm still kind of learning as I go with this stuff as well. But I know for this piece, the goal is not to warm it, but to cool it.
All right, guys, so this is the part where I messed up. So no matter how much you prepare for these kind of projects, no matter how much you analyze the undertones, there's still things that anyone, including myself, is still learning when it comes to this. So as you can see here, I actually had some old white glaze left over, so I figured I would use it, but it was pretty hardened. So I just added some water to it, and then I gave it a really, really good stir. The problem is I ran out very quickly, which is good. I used all the product, but then I switched over to a whitewash paint with the white paint that I already showed. But the problem was they dried at completely different levels and completely different tones. So the first product I used showed up a lot more white than the whitewash. So I had the top looking way different than the bottom. So unfortunately, I had to go back in with the sander and I had to fix it up a little bit to get it back so that it was all cohesive with the same level of brightness. So now I'm going in with the tan wash. This was definitely the most fun part, seeing the piece really transform. And I'm using my favorite paint, Algonquin by Fusion, link in description.
Okay, so I'm almost done this piece. I went and I tested on one of the hidden spots, or the less noticeable spots, the top coat that I usually like to use, which is the Ultra Grip. And I've ultimately decided not to use it. And the reason for that is it kind of showed up a little bit blotchy. So I know if I put it all over the piece, there's a very good chance that I'm not going to be happy after all of the work that we've done. We've come too far to start over. So, some of you might be thinking, well, how can you not top coat it? I did debate using a wax on it as well. Unfortunately, I don't have clear wax on me right now, so that might be something that if I do have clear wax in the future, I can do. I have this wax, but it's made for dark wood, so if I open it up here, you're gonna see it's dark. So this is just gonna make the piece look muddy, and it's good if you're going for like an antique effect. But for me, on this piece in particular and what I want for the room, that's not really the direction I want to go with it. So we're gonna forego it. Yes, I can get away with that. And the reason why I can get away with that is because of the type of furniture paint that I used. So Fusion paint, I've used it for years now, and I've used it on so many pieces. Fusion paint is actually an incredibly durable paint, even in the whitewash form. I've painted my dresser, which is another video that I have on my channel, with the golden mirror, and I did that probably like 3 years ago. Not a single dent, not a single scrape, not a single anything, and I dust it quite frequently. So all in all, I know that the paint is durable, and what happens is it basically has its own built-in top coat. And for those of you that have ever used Fusion paint and you're trying to get the lid off after you've already used it once, you know what I'm talking about. It's incredibly, incredibly difficult because when it dries and it cures, it basically hardens into a very hard, durable plastic. So I essentially have that built-in top coat, which is just what a top coat is really anyways. It's just a hardened plastic that goes over top. So for what I know we're gonna use this piece for, I think that it's going to be fine. There's a couple things that I can do to mitigate that. It'll be mostly my husband will be using this desk. I know he likes to have drinks and stuff, so I'm gonna put coasters somewhere on the piece so that he can just put his drink on the coaster. That will mitigate some issues. Cleaning and the maintenance of it, I'll make sure that we use kind of nothing super harsh on it to clean it. But all in all, I think it's gonna be more than fine for what we're using it for.
Now we're just going to deal with the hardware, and I'm going to use the same one that came with it.
Here's some baking soda. And some vinegar. And some boiling water. And we'll let that sit for a bit.
The baking soda and vinegar loosened up a lot of the gunk for me, and then I'm just finishing it with this Brasso just to give it a nice polish so that it looks brand new.
So I just put some wax on the drawers so that it will slide easily. I did use the dark wax that I didn't want to use on the rest of the piece. It's not a big deal because nobody's going to see it. And then I don't have to go buy other wax just for that. But it should work fine.
So there you have it. This is the part 1 of my office makeover. The desk is now done. Here's some before and afters, and stay tuned to the end if you want to watch my husband's review.
This is a nice table, from garbage to high quality item. Cute.